It all started with a simple comment from my mom. "It's embarrassing that Rebecca is just a high school graduate. She's so different from Ashley," she said. My dad nodded in agreement, as always, and there sat Ashley, smiling proudly, as if she were the one being praised. I couldn't help but feel invisible. I worked hard, but it was always Ashley who got the attention. She was perfect in their eyes. I didn't have the right grades, and I didn't go to a fancy school. But I had dreams, big dreams, and one day, I hoped to prove them all wrong. Growing up, it was always clear that Ashley was the favorite. On her birthday, she got the best gifts, big toys, things every child would want. But me? My birthday gifts were combined with Christmas, and I'd get only one present, something boring like books or educational toys. When Ashley joined the soccer team, our parents never missed a game. But when I played tennis, not once did they come to watch me. It was always the same. They were interested in Ashley, and I was just there. I tried not to mind, but deep down, I wanted their attention too. Even though I felt left out, Ashley always had my back. Whenever our parents compared us, she would defend me. "Rebecca is smart too. She helps me with my studies," she would say. It meant a lot to me. She could have easily joined in with our parents' praise for her, but instead, she made sure I wasn't forgotten. One time, after my tennis match, she even made me a small bouquet of flowers. It was a simple gesture, but it meant the world to me. Despite everything, I still felt like I mattered to her. But things began to change when our grandparents passed away. Our house became quieter, colder. Our parents' attitude towards me shifted. My mom started criticizing me more often. "Why are you still stuck in that low-paying job, Rebecca?" she would ask. And then there was Ashley, praised for being the perfect daughter. She was getting closer to becoming a doctor, and I was stuck in the same place, working hard to chase a dream that no one else seemed to care about. It felt like no matter how hard I tried, I would always be the disappointment. One cold winter day, I overheard my parents arguing. My mom was angry at Ashley for standing up for me, saying, "If you keep defending Rebecca, I'll make you stand outside in the cold." I felt terrible. I never wanted to be the cause of Ashley's troubles, so I told her, "You don't have to worry about me anymore." After that, Ashley stopped defending me. It hurt to see her stop fighting for me, but at the same time, I didn't want her to suffer just because of me. So, I let her go. She focused on her studies, and I was left in the background. I moved away and started working at a small fashion magazine. It wasn't what I had dreamed of, but it was a start. I spent my days doing boring office work, but I always found time to study design. I watched the real designers at work, learning everything I could. I stayed late, worked hard, and refused to give up. I wanted to make it as a designer. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to succeed. With every challenge, my dream of becoming a designer grew stronger, and I believed I could one day prove myself. After a few years of hard work, I was promoted to the design team. It was everything I had hoped for. Finally, I wasn't just answering phones and filing papers. I was creating designs, working on real projects. The other designers helped me, shared their knowledge, and even introduced me to important people in the industry. I could feel myself getting closer to my goal. It felt like I was finally on the right path. My hard work was paying off, and I knew that this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Ashley was studying harder than ever for her medical school exams. She had always been the top student, and now she was preparing to enter one of the best medical schools in the country. It was impressive, and I couldn't help but admire her dedication. I remembered how she had helped me when we were younger, always standing by my side. But as time passed, something began to shift. We weren't as close as we used to be. I found myself wondering, what had happened between us? We seemed to be drifting apart, and I didn't know why. When Ashley got into medical school, I was genuinely happy for her. It was a huge accomplishment. But then she told me something that caught me off guard. "Rebecca," she said, "there's a donation for my medical school. It's not required, but Mom and Dad think it would be embarrassing if we didn't pay it. Could you help me?" My heart dropped. I knew our family didn't have the money, and I also knew how much I had already sacrificed to help her. But she seemed to expect me to help. And for some reason, I agreed, even though I felt conflicted. I paid for Ashley's donation and helped with other expenses for her education. But the more I gave, the more distant she became. She barely thanked me, and when I tried to reach out to her, she was always too busy. She had moved on to a new life, and I was just a part of her past. It hurt, but I kept giving because I thought I was helping my sister. But she didn't seem to care. I was beginning to realize that no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough for her. I invited Ashley to dinner one evening, hoping that we could reconnect. But when she arrived, it was clear that she was distracted. Her nose was always in her phone, and when I tried to talk to her, she brushed me off. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. It was supposed to be a nice, casual meal, but instead, it felt forced. I tried to lighten the mood by talking about our parents, but then Ashley gave me a cold smile and said, "Of course, you're doing well, Rebecca. You're just a designer." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "You think my job doesn't matter? That anyone could do what I do?" Ashley's response was sharp and mocking. "Well, you're just a high school graduate, Rebecca. You don't even have a real qualification. It's embarrassing that you're still doing this job." Her words stung. I had worked so hard to get where I was, and yet, here she was, belittling me in front of everyone. It felt like the last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. "What happened to you, Ashley?" I asked, feeling a mix of anger and sadness, but she didn't answer. Instead, she turned her back on me and walked away. That was it. That was when I realized I could no longer keep trying to please them. I had given them everything I had. My time, my money, my effort. But it was never enough. I made the decision then and there. I would cut ties with them. No more pretending. No more trying to prove myself. It was time to move on, for good. The following months were strange but freeing. I focused on my career, took on bigger projects, and watched as my professional life began to take shape. Meanwhile, Ashley's life seemed to fall apart. She struggled with her studies and eventually dropped out of medical school. I didn't feel sorry for her, not after everything that had happened. She had chosen her path, and now she had to face the consequences. As for me, I was finally building the life I had always wanted. No more distractions, no more feeling worthless. One day, Ashley called me. Her voice was full of panic. "Rebecca, they're asking for the tuition for my second year. Please, can you help?" But I wasn't going to fall for it again. I had already given everything I could. I refused to help her. And when my parents called, asking for money, I turned them away too. I was done. They had used me for too long, and now it was time to let go. I wasn't going back to that life, not for anyone. Months later, I heard through relatives that Ashley had been forced to drop out. She had burned through all the money I had given her, and now she was struggling to get by. My parents, too, were facing hard times. They had no money left, and Ashley didn't seem to care. As for me, I was moving forward. My career in design was thriving, and I had finally found peace. I had cut ties with the past, and now, for the first time, I was truly free to live my own life.